When I was 5 years old, I begged my parents for a gaming system. So I was ecstatic when they brought me home a Sega Genesis. I was too young and naive to know anything about the console wars.
Check this out, brand new 16-bit Super Nintendo with Super Mario World. Wow!
What's this one?
Oh, this is a Sonic the Hedgehog from Sega Genesis. Hey, look at these radical colors, huh?
Wow, Sonic's fast, too.
No.
This was my introduction to the console wars that we still know and hate today. But this video isn't about that. This is about a special game released for both consoles in its special red cartridge. Maximum Carnage enveloped my child mind, even though I could barely ever even make it past the climbing stage to even see a real boss like Doppelganger. But that was a long time ago. I did play Maximum Carnage one other time, about, I'd say 2012, in the back room of a card shop where they illegally cooked and sold fried foods. They'd fry pretty much anything you'd ask them to fry. Health code violations everywhere. But we had a Sega back there, and I saw Maximum Carnage, and I felt nostalgia, so I put it in. And guess what? Some of the nostalgia had worn off. And when I was done playing, I said, hey, how do you save this thing again? And then I came to that realization when he said, you don't save this. And I remember that it's not only the save, it's the small amount of lives, the one continue. Yeah, you can go searching for more, there's the secret rooms, but in that moment I had the question, does anyone beat this game, or is it just something that you put on for fun? So now that I'm playing all the Spider-Man games, I set out on my quest to beat Maximum Carnage. To put it into perspective, while editing this video and playing games in between, I have beaten 3 Spider-Man games in probably half the time that it took me to complete this single game. The first stage isn't too much. It's your average beat 'em up. A little harder than your average beat 'em up. But you get to the end, you fight 2 girls, they have this crazy health bar, and you're good. And anytime you fight a non-important boss, well, to be honest, even anytime you fight a boss, they are added to the gallery of enemies that you have. In cases of regular, like these girls, they will be now added as regular people that you have to fight, but they're not as strong. And with the bosses, anytime you beat a boss, they're now added to the gallery of bosses that you have to fight during boss fights. Stage 2, the climbing stage, is what haunted most children's memories of this game. And to be honest, probably a lot of adults too. Because, yes, you get this little spidey sense thing over your head, but there's just this laser that comes down and hits you and knocks you down. And to be honest, you can't dodge it very well. You can once you practice. You can swing to the other side or sidestep at the last minute. But to be honest, it's not a perfect system, and you can still get hit. I always remember this part being harder, but you can straight blast Doppelganger till he's down, and then Shriek knocks you off, and you're on to the next stage. Also, it's crazy how cool Carnage looks in these cutscenes. Like, I get why kids thought Carnage was cool as fuck. By stage 3, I was still trying to figure out the best way of taking care of mobs without losing a ton of life on the way, and I still hadn't quite figured it out, to the point that I just die here and see my first game over screen with the continue. When you actually successfully make it to the end of the alleyways, you get to this big guy with a billy club, and if you're not bad, you can kill him and get an extra life. But if you are bad like me, he knocks you out and you get saved by Cloak and Dagger. This is kind of the introduction to all the little hero tokens you're going to get later in the game to use to help you beat fights. Stage 4 is pretty much the same boss fight again, except you have to actually take out Shriek this time. It's also where I learned that I'm going to need to get a lot better at the game if I ever want a chance at beating it, and I took a break for the... I pretty much called it a night. After that second game over without a continue, you pretty much have to restart the game and just, try to learn from your mistakes of your last run. Day 2, I came in hot and ready like a Little Caesars pizza. I initially thought I was going to try to beat the game with no secret rooms. I only knew where 1 or 2 were anyway, but I said, hey, I'll make a rule with myself. If I can find it without looking it up, then I get to use it. And so started my madness of checking every single window in every single stage, just to even have a chance at beating the game. Until it worked, pretty quickly too. There was just a random extra light above one of the windows. Stage 2 is probably the only secret room, other than the very last stage, that I knew of. So I was gonna for sure use it. I'm not gonna lie, the game feels a lot more comfy when you have 7 lives opposed to 3. That is until you suck so bad on the climb that you burn 2 lives anyway, just going through it, and you're back to 5 lives already. And then you don't feel so good. See, if you're not horribly terrible at the game here, you can actually get a life from this guy. And I think if you kill the 2 guys next, you get lives from them also. But I didn't do that. As long as you rotate between these 2, it's pretty easy to take them out, and you get to see Carnage for the first time. This is also the first time that you get to pick if you want to switch to Venom. I did not. I don't care what anybody says, Demogoblin is the most annoying boss in this game, other than maybe Carnage. Ugh, I hate him. Pretty much anytime you try to punch him, he counter punches you and you just take damage. But if you do this running power slide, he does take some damage, so I just got used to doing that. At the end of the next stage, New York Streets 2, you fight these guys with umbrellas that are doctors. They're, in my opinion, the easiest of the newer characters to fight. I guess they block with the umbrellas, but they're way easier than the big guys. At the next stage, the Deep, it starts getting a little crazy with how many mobs are on screen. And I got my last game over again, and it was time to run it back. I made it back to the Deep this time with a lot more lives to spare, but the mobs were still incredibly overwhelming. And I got this little cloak icon, so I decided to use it, and it brought me to the next stage, which was really cool. At which point I was gangbanged by Demogoblin and Doppelganger until I finally decided to use my other cloak. And holy god did it work. Look how little life Demogoblin has left. That quickly made me understand that these icons needed to be saved for the most dire of situations. Fantastic Four HQ is probably the easiest of all the later stages, not including the boss. And after a couple more resets, I was ready to take on the second half of the game. These little flashing white beams suck, this boss sucks, this whole little part at the end all sucks. This big annoying piece of shit, just after fighting it for I don't know how long, the only way I can figure out how to kill it is just by standing on the wall until it slams, you fall off the wall and you hit it once and then you get back on the wall and repeat. It's just tedious. It's bad. Here's me kicking it at 10 times speed to where you really can't even see it. And this was after I'd pretty much knocked off its shield already. Venom jumps down with the sound gun, and we're on to the next stage. In this stage, you get to fight all the bosses you've already fought, plus this new little flying guy. Luckily, the game doesn't let you use your little hero tokens on that big metal thing, so I can use them all here, and this was a pretty easy fight because of that. Crazy the amount of mobs there were in this stage. I knew I had to be getting near the end of the game, because this was getting crazy. This stage, along with the subsequent boss fights, probably attributed to 90% of my game restarts. I finally beat it with Carnage knocking me out, and I decided to switch to Venom here because I wanted to see if it would give me a full set of lives again. Sadly it doesn't. I ain't gonna lie, even the computer-controlled Spider-Man's kinda getting pieced up here. The quote-unquote last fight of the game is right here, and what else can I say except for it's pretty ass. It's not bad, it's hard. You have to fight every single boss you've encountered so far, all in succession. They only come out 2 at a time, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, pretty much, unless you're a god gamer, the only way to do this, at least that I can see, is just use all of your hero icons in the right order. Use all of them in the right order. Only certain ones were with certain bosses, so you just kind of have to play around with it and hope that you don't run out before you kill everybody. And that's the false ending of the game. You get your little credit roll. It has like a the end? Ooh, is it? And then this overpowered motherfucker just comes out of the... First of all, why are we in the forest again? And then he just raises out of the water for some reason. You don't get your extra heroes that you can call down anymore, which makes sense. But you can use the same button to switch between Venom and SpiderMan. Honestly, this fight is pretty easy. As long as you can set up your power-up punch, it really chunks Carnage's health. And I just got used to doing that dash for the same move that I'd use against Demo Goblin. I'd kind of just use to mess with Carnage, because he has a very similar style. The true last stage is the boys' home, and I knew if I wanted any chance of actually finishing this, I would need to use the secret room here. One thing I didn't know, though, is if you jump on this barrel right here, you can get a continue up at the top. You have to jump and then kind of jump again, and then you can see it, and then if you do it just right, you can web crawl. You can web crawl all the way to it. And even with all that and the extra continue, I still got the game over screen, and I started all over. Now I want to state, I didn't put even a tenth of the amount of times that I restarted this game into this video, because it would just be forever long. So yeah, it might seem like I only restarted the game like 3 or 4 times, but no, it was probably closer to 10, 15, maybe even 20 times, depending on how many times I had to start in the early game for sure if I knew my lives weren't going well. After using Venom to tear down his shield, I let Spider-Man finish up the job to get that true end screen. But this wasn't the last Spider-Man game released for the Sega Genesis. They came back for more. It would be hard for me to find a single thing that separation anxiety does better than Maximum Carnage. The beautiful comic book panel cutscenes that Maximum Carnage had are now replaced with walls of text. I did decide to play this whole game as Venom because this is a Venom storyline. One thing I will give it is you can play co-op in this game, so you and your friend can play as both Venom and Spider-Man. That's the one thing I can give this game. I've also seen a lot of people say this game is hard, and after Maximum Carnage, this game is a cakewalk. You can, if you finish Maximum Carnage, you can one-shot this game easy. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but when you can beat the whole game in under 2 hours, your first playthrough, it leaves you wanting. The first stage boss is this goofy fucking thing. It's easier to beat than the 2 ladies with the armored health in Maximum Carnage by a lot. You just punch it to death. These goofy looking Life Foundation guys are the main thing that you fight for the whole rest of the game as the mobs. You finish the stage and you get to another incredibly easy boss that you just punch. I don't know if the studio just noticed that no one could beat Maximum Carnage, so they just made this game dog shit easy because of it. But at least we finally get to a boss that isn't like some cookie cutter silly thing. Yeah, I can still kill it incredibly easy, but at least looks like a, you know, off version of Venom. After that fight, you get to your first trap room, which is where a guy that looks like off-brand Iron Man picks you up and flies you into this. He locks you up. This happens multiple times throughout the game, and it's like a short stage where you have to escape the Life Foundation facility. I don't know if that's what it's called. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't follow the storyline very well. I didn't do a lot of reading. There's a lot more fighting just random, really boring areas that aren't hard to traverse until you also get your hero icons finally, where you can use them and bring down Daredevil and all those guys. And you have in this game there's Ghost Rider. It's pretty cool. But you finally get to this, and it's got the same similar structure as Maximum Carnage, where it just adds a boss each time whenever you're fighting the bosses. So they're adding bosses, but these bosses yet again are just incredibly easier to kill. Yeah, pretty much the whole rest of this game is fighting very easy mobs, while you gain more lives than you lose because of how easy they are, and they just drop lives. And then at the end of the stages, you add on to these Life Foundation symbiote characters. And some of them are more annoying than others. This one's annoying, it flips around a lot. So very annoyingly, I for some reason don't have the file for the last part of the game. So I just used the password and got back to the end of the game, and am going to show you how easy it is based on the fact that I'm going to beat it with way less lives than I had the first playthrough. Also, it's sped up to like 750% speed just for your convenience. As you see, it'd be really hard to die in this section because each boss that you kill drops a full heal or a life. At the end, Carnage pops out, and on the other hand, he's hard because he has pretty much the exact same moveset as he has in Maximum Carnage, and he's it's a very different like layout, and he'll swing off screen, and anytime you just stand there, he'll swing through, and you pretty much have to kick him down. Almost certain that he doesn't have anywhere near the health pool or the armor that he does in Maximum Carnage, though, because just like everything else in this game, he just feels like a nuisance. Even this little running around thing that he does, that's it, and then the game's over. You get a shot of Carnage saying game over, and then credits roll. There's no crazy ending, secret ending. There's no 2 extra stage, they end maybe. No, that's it. That's it. Now, a lot of people are going to say my ratings might be nostalgia based, but I want to rebut with, I didn't play this game a lot as a kid. I might have owned it, maybe. I might have just played it at a friend's house, the older neighbor kid across the street, but I didn't play it a ton. There were times during Maximum Carnage where I didn't think I was going to beat the game. And while maybe not everything holds up with this game, I do think that there was something nice about having a game that I knew most games, if you just play long enough, you will beat the game. But this game, you are never 100% sure that that's ever going to come. For sure, when you find out there's fake endings and fake credit scenes, and you keep having to fight Carnage, and then you beat him at the lake, and then he's at the boys' home, and he's somehow even harder. Now, I didn't even fully beat the game the real way, in my opinion. I used some secret rooms. So, the perfect run is beyond my grasp by a lot. That being said, I think that there is some downsides to making a game that's so hard that most of the people that bought it never saw even close to that end screen either. And that's why I don't think I can put it anywhere higher than great. While it's for sure way better than Separation Anxiety, it's still a flawed game. Just by the title of this video, you can tell that I didn't have a fun time with Separation Anxiety. The only thing that's cool about it is the multiplayer, and maybe all the symbiotes, but I'd still rather have not best but good rogues gallery from Maximum Carnage over the symbiotes, and then like the weird little gun Life Foundation men, whatever, the flying disc guys. Yeah, I know a lot of people love this game, so the only thing I can put it, I'm not gonna give it trash, because I know a lot of people have great fond memories of this game, and that's why this game has to go in nostalgia. Because I don't have the nostalgia for this game, but I know a lot of people do. There are people that rank this game above Maximum Carnage, and I have no idea why. The only thing I can think of is that they were so excited that they could actually beat this game. And in the long run, that is what I think about Maximum Carnage and Separation Anxiety, the 2 Spider-Man games where you can play Spider-Man or Venom for the Genesis and the SNES. So the only question left is, how do you feel about these games? Are they your favorite games? Do you hate them? And have you beaten Maximum Carnage? Other than that, if you did like the video, please make sure to comment, like, subscribe, do everything that you can, and I will be back with another couple Spider-Man games very soon.